Greetings, fellow Kerbonauts. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Kerbal Space Program 2, Episode 3, Building a Space Station. So these comm satellites all have, in some sort of like, more polar orbit than the other ones that I've launched. Oh, and we're going to have a night launch. Neat. And Valentina is our pilot today. Yoda didn't get his treat. My sound alerts are like totally not working. Hey buddy, here you go. So if we don't want to put it into equatorial orbit, we're not going to want to point east. We're going to want to point like north maybe, or northeast. So I'm going to start to do gravity turn a different direction. That wasn't northeast. This is northeast. Ooh, the wobbles. Not too worried. The solid boosters are mostly about braking atmo, not putting me into a gravity turn or anything like that. But actually, it's doing a pretty good job getting me into a easterly. They sound real cool. There we go. These control surfaces are great. This is pretty stable. So I'm trying for a 45-degree sort of like halfway between equatorial and polar. Our apoapse is only 35K, so I'm going to still want to point up more than, you know, to the horizon to gain a little bit more altitude. But as you can, if I go out to the map, you can see it's a very different trajectory than the equatorial orbit that we had before. It's a 45-degree up. And we're almost, yep, apoapse is now in space, so I'm going to start tilting to the horizon so that we widen now instead. Oh yeah. Those Clydesdales, quite nice. And they have the fins and control surfaces on the Clydesdales because we're about to be in space, so I'm totally not going to need fins while in space. There's no aerodynamics in space. Holy heck, the apoapse of this this launch was way higher than expected. All right, next phase is a go. I'm going to give it a little gas to just separate out from the Clydesdales so I don't hit any collisions or anything like that, because I don't want to bump. Cool. You can see the apoapse is way up there, but actually, higher apoapse is probably good, so that we're in the, you know. So at this point, what I want to do is use the fuel that I have to circularize around a stable orbit. So at the apoapse, we'll circularize a bit. In fact, you know what? I'm going to purposely not fully circularize. I'm just going to keep the periapse above re-entry. And the satellites themselves will circularize, right? I added a bunch of fuel to the satellites, so we can circularize the satellites with their own fuel source. So let's time accelerate. And we are going to be in space pretty soon. A high apoapse is good for comms? Yeah, I agree. Do I know how to rock it? Yeah, Ekim, I know how to rock it. I'm rocking it real good. Or Valentina is. Alright, burn timer in about 30 seconds. And I haven't actually tested this kind of payload, so this is all beta testing, which is exciting. Let's point to the maneuver, because I am pointed totally the wrong way. Should have done that before, but that's fine. Because I do have that inline stability to be able to help me tumble. And I'll fire up a little early. I'm not too concerned about the time at which I fire. Because I'm just trying to bring the periaps above collision. In fact, I'm just going to nuke the maneuver. So, 20k, 30, and once it hits 70k, we're good. I'm going to open up the payload and release these satellites. Done. So, satellite payload time. Let's see. Right-click on this. Open cargo bay. And then there's my little satellites, and I'm going to release this one. Let me save first, just in case I, like, fat finger it and screw it up. So this decoupler, I want decoupled. There it is. There's my satellite. Are the keys the same? Yeah, they're the same. So now I've used right bracket to switch to the probe core. And this is the satellite that I wanted to deploy. It might... No, I'm using the... Okay, this is getting weird. Okay, this is why I saved. No, we're good. We're good. All right, let's stop tumbling. Eat the phone. Oh man, I made a Mickey Mouse. Lack of stellar exposure. Yeah, well, I mean, because we're tumbling like crazy. All right, so this thing does work. The solar panels should be angling soon. And I did say that I wanted to circularize this, which it's a little late to do because I'm past the apoapse. So I will warp to just before the next apoapse pass, which is why I put the rest of the craft in a stable orbit so that I could launch both. Okay, so now we're near the apoapse, and I'm going to want to point prograde. I could create a maneuver. Actually, it would be helpful to create a maneuver because I have no idea what my delta V is. And in fact, the game doesn't seem to know what my delta V is either. I have a bunch of these, like, fake stages here. It's not telling me what my delta V is, which is really strange. Whatever. I'll just point prograde and fire up as far as I can go to try to circularize as best as I can. Whoa! Man, that worked super good. In fact, I have a super... Okay, that worked too well. What the hell? So, my apoapse is now 400... Okay, let's circularize it at the next apoapse. At, No, let's make it a clean 500. Okay, went a little over, but that's fine. So now at the next apoapse, I'll circularize for clean 500. So let's warp to next maneuver. It says the Webster is on a crash trajectory, which I find suspect, because I really don't think it is. Valentine, I hope you survive, because I'm too busy playing with my satellites. Alright, so we're at the next maneuver, and I just fire up a little bit, bring the periaps up to 500k. Yep, 495, and what is this? 507? Good enough. Call it close enough. Delete the maneuver. And this satellite is now... The hell is that thing going? Webster, where are you going? You are freaking flying off into... Okay, Kraken took over the other one. So let's fix that. shall we? So for that, I need to go to the tracking station, and I hope I have enough fuel to be able to fix it. Shut up, Paige. No one needs your info. So in the tracking station, I should be able to see Webster. Let's go control Webster, because it's flying off into the middle of nowhere. Before we control Webster, I want to decouple the other satellite. Switch to it, and fix its orbit. So, enter the Kraken again. Come on, I decoupled this. Oh, Kraken! I think I actually decoupled the nose tip. So that means that I'm already on re-entry, whether I like it or not. But that's okay. Okay. Misclicks will be had. I'll keep Valentina alive if I can. Alright. Let's stop tumbling, so add a little bit of stability. And then this thing is going to need a lot of course correction because it is on some sort of crazy nonsense trajectory off into the middle of nowhere because of Kraken. Kraken is just when the physics go haywire, and this doesn't make any sense because, oh my god, it's still Krakening? We're like halfway to min-miss on this trajectory. Right? You can't gain that much. You can't gain that much by bumping things. That's not how physics work. Equal and opposite. Dude, oh, I can't even click that spark engine. How do I fire the spark engine? Activate. There we go. I'm glad there's no pilot here, because the G-forces of, like, spinning around like a dreidel is probably sickening. Oh, you know what? I don't have a satellite connection with this thing, which is why I can't control it, because it's flying out of control. Pretty good reason to have two of them, because this thing is a tumbling satellite now. Look at its impact point. Yeah, we're impacting. Good. All right, so let's go ahead and take control of Valentina now, because that satellite is a rip. I will be able to control the satellite as it gets closer to Kerbin. It will re-enter the it will re-enter and get close enough to Kerbal Space Center that it will be controllable. But I'm more concerned about Valentina's life than one little satellite, because Valentina, for some reason or other, I must have misclicked. I decoupled with the whole thing. So what I'm going to do here is just warp to when we're nearing re-entry. So she spent way more time up in space than she had originally intended. Luckily, she brought snacks, so she's fine. I'm joking. There's no food consumption in the game. Not yet, at least. So she is on re-entry. And one of the things I wanted to do is to try to switch over to the comm satellite to see if it's rescuable. Because I think it will be once it's within the sphere of influence of Kerbin. So that would be this default name 17. No. I guess it's default name 16. Okay. Nope, this is the one orbiting Kerbin already. Then which one is it? 17, Webster. What is left? Does it think it's debris? All right, let's go back to 17. What's weird about this is, like, 17 shouldn't even be controllable, to be honest. I shouldn't be able to close the bay because there's no control module on this part. Right? It doesn't have a pilot, it doesn't have a probe. So why can I tell it what to do? I don't get it. You think it crashed already? Yeah, let's check the flight logs. I don't know. It maybe have already crashed, but it doesn't make much sense that it would accelerate past the part that it deployed from. Whatever. We have a one comm satellite, so I'll just focus on. I'll focus on Valentina now. My guess is the game thinks it's one of those debris. Let me try one last ditch effort to click on the debris. Nope, doesn't think it's debris. Okay. The Kraken demanded it and deleted it. Yeah, I think you're right on that. Because it's not 17, it's not 16. It's not Webster. Okay, fine. Whatever. Kraken can have it. Valentina, let's bring you in. So Valentina's just on a ballistic trajectory, and I have no method of controlling where she lands, because I decoupled all the fuel. But she should survive, because she has a heat shield and a parachute, which is pretty much all you need. So we'll point retrograde. Point the parachute, or the heat shield towards where the heat will generate. Accelerate time, because I'm impatient. And get her back on terra firma. Or, in this case, maybe liquid aqua firma. Something. There's no re-entry heating? Yeah. That's not... Aerobraking and re-entry heating is not a thing yet. I have noticed, but I'm still going to include heat shields, because I think for new players, you know, that's a useful thing to include as a force of habit, because when aerodynamics is introduced, and you get used to not having heat shields, you're going to cook some Kerbals. And cooked Kerbals don't taste as good as it sounds. It's not like frog legs. Happy landings. Or splashings. So, mission, I will still say is a success. We did get a comm satellite into high orbit over Kerbin. Let me delete some of the debris that we've got. Just so that it's not tracked. Although it doesn't seem to be deletable. So I will win this. Nope, I won't win this. I changed the amount of persistent debris to 0, and it was still like, nice try, but no, we're going to still have persistent debris. But in either case, here is the Webster satellite. Or rather, default name 16. So let's rename default name 16 to the Webster satellite. And then we'll launch the next mission. What are you tumbling about? I guess it's not my problem. So, it has the communicatron. It's got engine with still plenty of fuel for readjustments, which would be a thing for real life. It used to be that you could just right-click on the probe to rename. And I am not exactly seeing that ability. Maybe it's nested somewhere else that I'm unfamiliar with. Probe? Nope. It's a fully functioning probe core with, as far as I can tell, no ability to rename. Top left? Yeah, that's not clickable. You'd think, but no. Well, sorry, Webster. I was trying to name it after you. I do like it. It looks like some sort of, like, sci-fi fish. Or something. I'll spend one more minute trying to figure out how to rename it. Might be nice to be able to do that. Try right-clicking from the tracking station? I could try that. Nope, over here. There we go. Webster sat. Nice. Okay, so the Webster sat is up. It's in a very stable high orbit. And... No, don't revert. Oh, man. Let's go to the vehicle assembly building. Revert. Just see that satellite up there? And it's gone. So the next mission, I have a choice here. I'm gonna have you guys decide if you are interested. So there's two choices. I can either make a space station, or I can do... Oh, looks like my polling software's down. Okay, I'll poll with Twitch. I can either do a internet, like a space station, which would be dockable and manned, or to do a Mun lander. We'll have you decide in 2 minutes. What would you prefer? Both are sort of sequentially next. Thereabouts. So, a space station would likely be a large structure that can house multiple Kerbals. You know, in crew cabins, large crew cabins like this, with, you know, additional docking ports and power generation, with lights and the ability for resupplies to go up there, kind of like the International Space Station is. It would be a really heavy thing, and I'd put it up in just equatorial medium orbit around Kerbin. A Mun lander would be a craft capable of landing the moon and returning back to Kerbin. So a manned mission to the moon. So have you guys decide that. And I'm happy to go either way. No space war crimes yet? No. Not yet. No unnecessary ballistics into the ground launches. Oh, now my polling software does work. So it looks like a space station is going to win out. So let me start on that. So the most important part of the space station is the part of the space station that is going to be in space. So we don't really need to consider a re-entry necessarily. I think what would be important is that we leave the station where we want it, and then whoever brought it there can re-enter so that they're not marooned up there. But let's design the core of the space station first, and I'll upgrade the priority here. Build a space station around Kerbin. All right. So first thing, we will start with the... So docking ports are going to be really important. Communications might be important. Getting a really good comm satellite on the space station could help boost probe missions for the future. Normally in Kerbal Space Station, in Kerbal Space Program, there are things that Kerbals can do in space stations. You know, you can act as a refueling station, you can act as a science station, you can act as a communication station. A lot of those parts don't exist yet, so instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make something that looks cool and serves a little bit of a purpose, and also allows me to practice docking, because docking is one of the hardest things to do, in my opinion. The two hardest things to do in Kerbal Space Program would be docking, especially with like clunky large vessels. I find kind of difficult. And then landings on low gravity bodies are typically pretty difficult as well. I don't know, actually, if they're still difficult here. I haven't landed on Minmus, which is a low-gravity body. But they're difficult because you have to feather your engines, and it's really hard to, like, land upright and not explode. So we'll start with crew cabins, and I like this, like, 8-seat crew cabin. I mean, this thing is enormous and looks glorious. So, this is going to be it. What would be... I think the... I did say I wanted to look cool, and one of the advantages that I do have here is I don't have to pay for this thing, because we're in sandbox mode, technically. So, you know, I can make it look however I want it, knowing that I don't have to pay for it in Kerbal bucks, or whatever the currency is, I forget. So these are cargo bays. I'm curious how fairings work. Oh, fairings go up. Okay. I don't need fairings then. So we'll have a cargo bay inside, but it's just for the looks. If anyone's like, what's going on with your craft? It's be like, well, it looks fancy. That's all that mattered to me when I built it. We'll want communication devices, like I said. So, like big old static antennas. It might be good to put the static antenna in a fairing, though. So I'll do that, because that looks like a sort of sensitive piece of equipment. So there are other things that we can slap on here. Would be a large inline reaction wheel. If we need to change the position of the station. I'm not going to bother with any RCS fuel. Anything that wants to dock to this thing is probably going to want RCS fuel, but I don't need it. Lights would be good. So I'm going to have light strips, you know, RGB, right? I'm going to have some light strips up on this thing, but light strips in a position that doesn't impede, you know, EVAs. Where did the light... I don't even see the light strips. They seem to be inside the... What? I'm confused as to... That doesn't seem like light to me. Oh, are they really fussy about clipping in? I think that's the case. Yeah. Well, some things need to be further refined. Yeah, okay. So they are... Oh, they look okay. Let's do some ladders. Just maybe one ladder. The ladders aren't so heavy that they're going to cause any problems, having them uneven. But ladders that allow for Kerbals to travel around the outside of this thing. I just want a big one that bridges that trussing gap, if possible. Those ladders are pretty stubby. That's the large ladder. I guess the thing I'm building right now is enormous, so, you know. Let's forget the ladder idea for now. Other things to add to this. So we'll put the satellite in, and how about I put the satellite in now? So let's do the fairings again. So this will be a large fairing up top with a big old static antenna in it that we keep nice and safe with the fairing. Fairings are pretty cool, huh? Cool. So, there we go. fairings protecting the satellite core. Batteries are also really important, and solar power on space stations, because sometimes you're in the shadow of Kerbin and won't have direct solar access. So we'll add some electrical power. So let's get a large battery in here. Put 2 of them for good measure. Nice. Then we're going to want solar power generation. And also lights. Because if we're trying to dock in the dark, it's really difficult. So we'll do... These are called Colossus. I'm curious how big they are. The bigger the better. Oh, yeah, okay. Earns its name. Those are massive. Perfect. I will stick them on the trusses here. Kind of attached. Right, that should be pretty good solar power. What do these look like? Probably the same, right? Yep. Do I want, No, I don't need those. We'll just go with 4 giant ones. Keep it simple. Alright. Cool. The only worry is that they are exposed to the elements the way they are. I don't know if launching will damage them. I'm not sure. Wow. This is a RTG. That's a big RTG. Which makes a lot of electric charge. But no, I'll keep it solar for now. If we want to attach an RTG in the future, I will set up the ability to expand upon this vessel. So, the first iteration of this won't have an RTG, but we can always add it if we want. So it has solar power. It doesn't have docking lights or docking nodes. So let's get the docking nodes. That would be next. So we're going to want clamps of some sort. The other thing I could do is to have docking out to the side like this, so that we can dock radially, and that way I can expand upon the space station at the bottom. I think I'll go that route. So these radial docking ports will link to... It's probably in coupling. Yep. Is that what? Small? So these are just small little docking ports. Radial docking ports. So that we can have up to 4 vessels docked. Something else that would be useful is if this structure had the ability to hold fuel. But maybe not actually a container that has fuel in it. The reason being, if we have spare fuel and we dock with this, we can leave the spare fuel for other missions, if we want. A big if, but if we want that. So I can do like an XL or a large fuel tank, but just, let's actually have this above the fairings. So a large fuel tank here, but don't include any methane or oxidizer in it. Oh, really? It's going to make me build the fairings again? That's just rude. Fine. Yoink. Come on. Let me hit the plus. Okay. So this is just a large tank that can store fuel but doesn't have any, so it won't add weight. Well, add a little weight to the vessel. And then if this is the docking, the radial docking, we're going to want lights so that we can see what the hell we're doing in the dark. So that would be... Here's lights. I'll get used to it eventually. Yeah, here we go. Narrow beam spotlights, nav lights, light bulbs, dome lights. Maybe a few narrow beam spotlights, but not how you'd consider using them, but like to make the ship look cool. No, maybe not there. I'll put narrow beam spotlights where the LEDs are. Put these LED strips on top. Actually, that could be really useful. Put LED strips on the radial docking ports so that they light up in every direction, so that they're very, very easy to identify in the dark. Because they'll be the only part that's set up like that. And then a beam spotlight out to the incoming craft. But what I wanted to do is a spotlight. I could put them like this. Like this, angled inwards a little, just to illuminate the craft itself. So that the craft is well lit and easy to see in the dark. Put those on the bottom, and then I'll copy that part and bring that and put them on the top here, but angled downwards instead. And that should light up the solar panels when they're deployed, making it a very easy craft to see, because it will be very lit, well lit. All right. Last but not least, a large docking port on the bottom, so that if we want to expand upon this, we can. So large docking port on the bottom, and then we need to launch this thing to space. So with, you know, quite a lot of weight. Oh, did I? I did not do the raffle for naming it. So here's the raffle to name the craft. So active chatting subscribers, you will be known as the space station soon. So then after that docking port, we'll do a decoupler. But I'm going to want to angle the decoupler so that it decouples, yeah, away like this. Perfect. All right, now let's go big. We will go for the large to XL. The XL fuel. I'm glad I'm not paying for this, because this is going to be really expensive. XL fuel. And then some giant thrust atmo breaker. Well, actually, this phase could just be circularization. Is there larger? Is there no XL engines? Okay. What's my thrust to weight ratio with this thing? 0.1. Oh, yes. That's real bad, by the way. Yeah, what I could do is just stick a bunch of solid boosters on it. I'm curious, with an 8x solid boost, what's thrust to weight ratio? 1.5. Okay, so it's doable. It's not great, but it's doable. Got it. So what is the best engine for this? This is really good engine for circularization. This is more thrust. This is way more thrust. The Mammoth is the really big lifter. Just the Mammoth alone would give me a thrust to weight ratio of above 1, so I would be able to launch on just a Mammoth, but obviously I'm not going to do that. So yeah, let's plan on having this Labradoodle circularize. Slow but efficiently. And then slap on what I will consider the most ridiculous amount of solid boosting. Just because, again, I'm not really paying for this. And then try to make it as stable as possible so that it's not, like, uber wonky to fly. So one of those XL radio decouplers. Is this the biggest solid? No, I thought I had bigger solid boosters in this. I guess not. Okay. Clydesdale's really the largest? There was 1 point larger ones, but alright, Clydesdale's it is. And we'll do 8 factor, not 6 factor. It's 8 Clydesdales. Getting us to break Atmo. So 8 Clydesdales decouple to the... Yeah, and that gives me tons of delta V. What is the delta V? So the delta V of the Clydesdales is 2.4K. That should be enough. It might be hard to circularize. I might have to do some tweaks to add radial engines to the large fuel phase. Or better yet, just remove some of the fuel so it's lighter. So, what I could do here is have a smaller XL, have that taper back down to the size of the Labradoodle. Looks a little strange. Actually put fuel in to that fuel tank up here. Unless, of course, the center of mass gets weird. I'll check on that. And then put the Labradoodles back. So the delta V says it's lower, but I think the thrust-to-weight ratio is going to be better for the Labradoodle phase, this phase. In fact, I can check it. Thrust-to-weight ratio of this is... It's up a little bit. Not significantly, but a little bit. In terms of stability... can I connect to the... Okay, I can't connect to the fairings. So one of the things I like to avoid is adding struts to a station that that won't be removable, because then you'll have like little weird strut parts all over your station, which is ugly, and I'm just trying to go for aesthetics for the most part. So I'll strut the Clydesdales to one another for stability, and we're about to raffle it off. Alright, what is your name? You're the Shona. Shona 13. Cool. Save the Shona. Alright, let's add struts from here out. Oh, no, that was the wrong anchor point. There we go. And then do the same up top. Sort of. Up top. So it decouples here. So connect that. Out here. And this is just to prevent wobbly nonsense. Then, what else? We are going to want maybe control surfaces. I'll do large 4x control surface here. Oh god. Nope. Game's like, I don't know what you're trying to do, but I don't like it. Alright, what if I did control surfaces on this? That's a lot of wing, but I don't... Oh, no, because it's mirrored inside. That's all screwy. I want 8x, so it's not inside. Cool. Aerodynamic cones for the tips, maybe? And this might be good to go. Where do I intend to add the tin can? That's a really good question, because I don't have a pilot. So, you know how I said it was good to go? I lied. Let's do the re-entry section, too. I got so carried away that I forgot that it needs a pilot. So, here, if I'm able to click... Perfect. Below this here will be the pilots section, and then I'll have to re-truss this up a little bit. So the command pod will be a little bit different. I might do a... No, I'll just do one of these little crummy parts. So... Yeah, I'll do one of these little explorer sections. So have a little Explorer. Above the Explorer, we're going to want maybe fairings for the... Or, you know, alternatively, I'm just trying to think of how to have parachutes. But I don't believe these parachutes go radial. Oh, these are radial. So we'll do 4 radial parachutes, which is way overkill. And then a heat shield on the bottom, which is unnecessary again because there's no heat generation, but unnecessary is fine by me. So this is our little re-entry vehicle. And then underneath that, we'll have a medium stack decoupler and a little bit of deorbiting fuel so that we can get back home. So this can be a really low thrust, high fuel efficiency engine, like a little Terrier. And then the decoupler again. Okay, yeah, where is that? So the decoupler... I'm having trouble finding. Okay, so that's the Terrier engine. So then, below the Terrier engine, we need yet another decoupler. Something like that. I might have made mistakes, so we might need to fix said mistakes up. But this has these struts are going to be redesigned because they can be higher up from where they were. Because everything underneath this section decouples now. So I'll stick struts from here down to here. Looks weird, but it should work. Let's check the staging, because the staging is completely wrong. So the staging, the Clydesdales fire up first. So we'll pull those Clydesdales out and put them on the bottom stage. Then, after the Clydesdales fire up, we want to get rid of them. So put that lower. Then, after the Clydesdales, we will fire up the Labradoodle. Put that above the Clydesdale radial decouplers. Oh, no, that's not the Labradoodle. The Labradoodle is this one. So fire up the Labradoodle. And then after the Labradoodle, we want to separate out the Labradoodle. And then fire up the entry vehicle. Re-entry vehicle. So I think this is correct now. I'm just going to move these parachutes up to the top. Fairings. Okay, yep, it all looks good. Fingers crossed I haven't made mistakes. Alright, let's try to launch this thing. This behemoth. And see how the Kraken likes me. Hopefully it does. So this is a really low thrust-to-weight ratio, as you can tell. And it's probably too wobbly because of this decoupler's stability. So I'm going to revert to the vehicle assembly and add some trussing to help with the center spire stability versus the Clydesdales. Ideally, only adding 8 struts. I think I can probably get away with only 8 struts. Yeah, I like the countdown flavor and the just all of the extra graphics involved. The diverters and the water systems and all of that. It's really, really cool. Are these struts too long? What's its complaint? Let's try inversed. That'll work. Maybe. So this is technically the Mark II, even though I've only added struts. But I'll save it. When this game is finished, it's going to be so cool. Yeah, it's going to be really cool to have like multiplayer and colonies and interstellar travel. And there's so much that's going to be added in the finished version. All right, Jeb. So there's the water jets and then the diverters. And it's heading the right direction so far. Up. And a lot less wobbly. Now the real question is, how easy is it going to be for me to do my gravity turn? That's the million-dollar question there. To the stars, friend. I like those LED strips. I mean, we're not in the dark yet, but you can kind of tell how they'll look. But I can cut the lights for now. How many Kerbals had to die to get to this point? You know, it's kind of hard to tell. It's hard to tell who I've actually killed and who I haven't. Technically, none of them have died. Technically. Alright, let's start our slightest of slight gravity turns. Barely tilting to east. Oh god, why am I tilting to south? Where is east? No, that's west. Okay, there we go. Tilting to east. Oh boy, oh boy. This thing wants to wobble a little bit. I can control it. I'm still good. Alright, tilt more east. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yes, I am trying to, like, control the trajectory of a bullet. And crackened? Yep, I think I wobbled too hard and it crackened. I think that fizzled. Okay, noted. Let's revert to launch. I don't think I actually need to redesign this thing. I just need to feather it a little bit. I was trying to find east and I was looking around and I wobbled the thing a little too hard. Thank you for tuning in to Kerbal Space Program 2, which originally streamed live on Twitch, February 25th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my gaming community, Rhadamant.com also has a link to Discord, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream of mine. Farewell, my fellow Kerbonauts.